Juanita, I want to go over this formula with you because you have the absolute and relative addresses reversed, and I want to show you why and how you identify which is which. Okay, so I'm going to start in Pakistan, and the formula that you have is G3 as being the absolute address and C10 as being the relative address. Now, what a relative address means is that it will change as you draw this cell down to repeat the formula. So what that means is the one that you want to be relative is the one that you want to change. So for example, this formula should be on Pakistan 0.62 or cell C10 times 40. The formula here should be C10 times 160. The formula here should be C10 times 8. And the formula here should be C10 times 80. So what that means is that in each one of these cells in this column, you want the consistent, non-changing cell to be this cell in C10. And the way that you have it here is that C10 is going to be relative, but G3 is going to be the one that stays the same. Now this is G3 right here. All right, so look at what happens when you take this cell and you drag it down for the formulas. What happens is you get the wrong number here because you can clearly see that 160 times 0.62 is not going to equal 20, and 8 times 0.62 is certainly not going to equal 10. So let's look at the formula and see what happened. Well, what happens is that the formula shows G3, which is G3, which is right here, is the cell that has stayed the same. So in actuality, what this formula is saying is C10, which is C10 is, where is C10? Sorry. C10 0.62, here we go, times G3, which is this one. Well, look what happens here. Is it stays the same. It stays G3. Well, clearly you don't want this number to be multiplied to get a solution here. But what happens is, in actuality, is that you have a relative cell here. So what happens is, as you pull it down, what happens is it goes C10, C11, C12, and C13. Now, if you look at C13, well, C13 doesn't even have a value, so that's going to be a 0. That's why that answer comes out to 0. And if you look at this one, C12 is China, and you don't want to multiply China by Pakistan. So what you need to do is you need to figure out when you're doing a formula is you need to figure out which is the one that is going to stay the same in the same location, as it were. And when we say stay the same, the value doesn't necessarily stay the same, but the location stays the same. So in this particular case, in this cell, which one is going to stay in the same location, which in this case is Pakistan. And so when you're doing the formulas and everything for Pakistan, then you want it to always stay in this cell C10. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this, and what we're going to do is we're going to change this, because what you want to do is you want to multiply, actually, this cell, which is G3, all right, times the cell C10. Now remember, you want C10 to stay the same all the time. So in this case, let me see, function F4, let's see if that changes it. Nope. Function F4, nope, it doesn't. I can't remember right now the key that you press to get the dollar signs to stay there. But what you want to do is you want to do $C, $10. Now, there's a formula, and let's go ahead and hit return. And what it does is it gives you the right amount. Now, watch what happens when you drag it down. When you drag it down, then the numbers are the correct numbers. So if you look here, what you've got is, look at here, G4, which is what you wanted to multiply by, all right, times C10, which is Pakistan. All right, and then we go to the next one, and you have G5, which is the 8, and you have it staying as C10, which is Pakistan. And then you have G6, which is this one right here, and you multiply it by C10, which is Pakistan. So if you notice here that what stays the same is the location of the multiplier that's going to stay the same in each of these formulas. So that's how you determine whether that's how you determine which cell is going to be absolute and which cell is going to be relative. So what relative means is the value changes, the cell location changes in the multiplication process, which in this case the cell changes in each of these to these over here. And when you're working with an absolute address, the cell location stays the same. When you're working with a relative address, the cell changes. Okay, I hope that makes it clear.